One of my favourite places in London is the National Portrait Gallery, just off Trafalgar Square. It was the first portrait gallery in the world when it was founded in 1856. It's an amazing place. You stand face to face with the statesmen, scientists, actors, musicians who defined their eras. You see history through their eyes. In room 4, you'll find this portrait. William Shakespeare, one of the greatest writers of his or any age. You can't escape Shakespeare. I was in a hotel room in the US recently, watching breakfast television, and the weather presenter described the storms as much ado about nothing, except in more of an American voice. And that famous line from Hamlet, "Brevity is the soul of wit," sums up all of the best TED Talks. The Portrait Gallery ran an advertising campaign highlighting surprising facts about the famous figures in the gallery. For instance, did you know that Mary Queen of Scots was the first woman to regularly play golf? Or that the singer, Lily Allen, trained to be a florist? The poster for Shakespeare read, playwright, poet, financier. William Shakespeare, successful financier. It's maybe not the first label we think of, but he became a wealthy man through the success of his plays, and he put that wealth to work. History suggests he was a moneylender, a grain merchant even. So should we be surprised that a playwright can be a financier, a playwright? In fact, William Shakespeare combined a keen commercial acumen with a boundless creativity and imagination. And that discovery got me thinking, does that mix of talents represent a new model for success in our own age? What can we learn from William Shakespeare that can help us prosper in business and in life generally in the 21st century? I think he's got plenty to teach us. And today I want to look at just 4 of his plays where he shows us how to get people on our side, separate the fact from the fiction, expand our horizons, and problem solve creatively. Above all, William Shakespeare tells us that the imagination, though often neglected, is the most powerful tool that we have. Let's start with Henry V. It's St. Crispin's Day, and Henry addresses his troops before the Battle of Agincourt. They're heavily outnumbered by the French, but Henry tells his men that the honor of victory will be all the greater because there are fewer of them to share it. "This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers." Henry V is often held up as a textbook for business leadership. And no wonder, Henry inspires his men to imagine the pride and the fame and the solidarity that will come with triumph. That's how you get someone invested in your vision. But clever language can be put to more devious ends too, as another of Shakespeare's plays, Othello, shows us. Othello murders his young bride, Desdemona, convinced she's been unfaithful. But he's wrong. He's been the victim of a plot by his apparently loyal sidekick, Iago, who plays on Othello's insecurities to engineer his downfall. Iago's motives are famously trivial. He believes he was unfairly passed over for promotion, which is something to bear in mind when we plan the next promotions round. Throughout the play, Iago turns to us in the audience and shares his evil plotting. We become his sort of co-conspirators. And we relish those moments because, let's face it, evil characters tend to be more interesting than good ones. We like serial killers, not serial do-gooders. And no doubt about it, Iago is a fascinating villain. He's mercurial and manipulative, and Othello misses the clues. There's a lesson for us here. In these days of politicking and spin, favor those people who speak from the heart, not those who are slick and confident, but who lack honesty. Don't be taken in. The Tempest, another very different play, set on a magical island ruled by Prospero, the former Duke of Milan, who was exiled there following a coup by his brother. Prospero is the ultimate control freak. In fact, he even controls the freaking weather. He conjures up a storm so that his brother and other characters are shipwrecked on the island. Although initially set on vengeance, he softens through the play as he sees his daughter, Miranda, fall in love with one of the castaways. He's like an aging man who comes to understand what really matters in life. That famous phrase, brave new world, comes from The Tempest. The play was written at a time when Elizabethans were starting their own voyages of discovery. Sir Walter Raleigh sponsored the first English colony in America in the 1580s. The limits of what people knew and understood were starting to be challenged in brand new ways. And The Tempest tells us this: whatever new vistas we explore, we have to keep our minds open. Whether we're setting our sights on new geographic markets or new digital frontiers, whether we're taking a leap in our professional lives or our emotional lives, our imagination, our understanding must expand with the force of our ambition. Finally, Hamlet, Shakespeare's best-known play. When we first meet Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, his father is recently dead. His mother has already remarried to his uncle, Claudius, who Hamlet suspects of his father's murder. As Shakespeare neatly puts it, something's rotten in the state of Denmark. Although Hamlet stumbles and hesitates, he pulls off one masterstroke. He asks a band of traveling actors to put on a play. The play will be a version of his father's death, implicating his uncle as the murderer. Hamlet will scrutinize his uncle's reaction as he sees his crime played out. As Hamlet says to us, "I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions." It's a creative solution to a difficult problem. Out of the box thinking, if ever I saw it. Shakespeare is saying, when you're up against it, be inventive. Don't let the pressure of the moment get in the way of bold, expansive thinking. Indeed, the lesson that I take from all of these plays is that when we face those critical moments in life, we should let our imaginations guide us, and we'll be amazed at what we can achieve. Certainly, Shakespeare's imagination was extraordinary. His ability to see the world through other people's eyes. I studied literature at university, and it will come as no surprise that included quite a lot of Shakespeare. And it's maybe a funny thing to say, but I believe it profoundly prepared me for a world of work. It encouraged me to challenge conventional thinking, to look at a problem in 3 dimensions, to be resolute, resourceful, and resilient, all characteristics that are so important today. Above all, it fed my imagination. But I think we're too quick to deride the imagination. It's okay for children to have a vivid imagination as long as they grow out of it. My plea to you is this: don't grow out of your imagination. The world is complicated. The pace of change is just scary. The imagination multiplies our options. For instance, by being more imaginative, we can be even better innovators because the imagination enables us to innovate for tomorrow, not just for today, for what might be, not just for what is. So let's learn from Hamlet and build business cultures where the outrageous idea is the norm, not the outlier. Let's encourage fresh thinking that's deliberately counterintuitive. Let's walk a day in our clients' shoes because that's what the imagination permits us to do. And when we need a reminder, this man can be our guide. Above all, go see some Shakespeare. I want to leave you with this quote from Midsummer Night's Dream. "And as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name." Yes, the imagination can be a solace, it can be an escape, but it can also help us change the world. Which is why I passionately believe that William Shakespeare, financier, poet, and playwright, should be our inspiration today. Thank you.